Hello and a very warm welcome to the ARTE-Talk at the Frankfurt Book Fair. I'm really happy to see you, and I'm especially happy to see you, Maja. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much.
You don't need any introduction, but I will say a few words nevertheless. You are very known for your writing of fiction. Your books have been sold in the millions and have been translated into more than 40 languages worldwide. This is a very, very big audience. You've started with your book on the bees, and then you've gone on a whole series on books on the environment and on especially the protection of the environment. And your last fiction also was a wonderful book where you basically had some characters that were living outside of time, but it was more like a dystopia than a utopia for you, which was a book that was highly celebrated. But now you're here with a non-fiction book. In German, it's called Rettet die Kindheit. It is around a topic that when one reads this book, one can understand this is very, very close to your heart, and also something where you feel we might end up in some sort of dystopia as well as societies. So maybe first we would like to know, as a writer of fiction, what made you write a non-fiction book and then almost the book of an activist?
Well, first of all, I have a master in media and a bachelor in psychology. So this, technology and also, children development, that's sort of my field. That's what I come from. And I've been following technology, the development of technology ever since I had my education. And the last couple of years, since I got children, I started to worry more and more. And I compared the childhood of my oldest, whom is now 21, to the childhood of my youngest, who is 15. I have 3 boys. It seems to me like the oldest one got more of an old-fashioned childhood with a lot of outdoor playing in the street and with the other kids in the neighborhood, while the childhood of the youngest and his peers have been much more phone-based and screen-based. And also in the same period, I myself feel like I have developed an unhealthy relationship to my cell phone. To my smartphone. So yeah, that's where I think this has engaged me, and this is really something I've been thinking a lot about ever since I took my education. But now the last couple of years, it has started to really worry me.
And it's very interesting for me because now all your readers get to know a different part of you, the side of an analyst, of a researcher, of a scientist, which I find very interesting. And I remember when you were talking about your last fiction book, which is basically setting people outside of time, where time stops for them. This idea you were telling me also on a stage came to you when you were turning 40, you were driving on a dark road and you were contemplating about your own life, basically thinking, okay, now I'm 40, I might have reached half time, basically. For this book, was there some sort of like an incident that also you can, which was so important to you that maybe this was really where you, writing a book takes a lot of time, takes all your energy. So the decision has to be clear. Can you remember if there was this sort of incident as well for you?
Well, people who know me well, they have known for years that this is a topic that really engaged me. And I've been asked several times from my 2 different publishing houses if I couldn't you write something about this also? But I didn't talk publicly about it. But then in January 2023, a teacher, a gymnasium teacher, he posted on Facebook, of course. He had asked the teenagers in his class, 16-year-olds, to show him their screen time on their phones, and also he had asked them what they had seen over the last couple of weeks on the on social media. And the screen time was so high and the content was so dark that the post went viral, and it was shared thousands and thousands of times. And then that post, actually, this teacher giving this, just showing us what we really know, but hasn't really, this was something I sort of knew, but I hadn't actually grasped how bad it was. And that made me write my first essay about this, and sort of an activistic essay. And then I was invited to the debate, a TV debate. And suddenly I had met with several politicians and started to sort of be a proper activist on this topic. I started a network, an unpolitical network with a lot of different researchers and activists who work together to try to change the development. So that is also something that's been part of this. And also, after just a few months, I realized I have to try to write this book now. Because we haven't really had any books in Norway that have tried to cover the whole field, you know. What do we know about screens and kids today? How is it in Norway today? And how did we end up? And even more importantly, what can we do?
What were the main warning signs for you that you were seeing? You were this Facebook message by this teacher is one, but what were you seeing mainly? Because it's also a very big field when you think about kids and the internet. There is the aspect of loneliness, there's the aspect of radicalization, there's the aspect of we don't know what it's doing to their brains. There's several things. So what were your main topics that you started off with that actually made you work on this subject?
Well, first of all, for me, this is this whole field has been left to private decisions and to the individuals. So my main message, both in the first essay I wrote, but also in the book, is that we have to solve this together. We need to regulate. We need politics on this field, and we need better advice from the health governments as well. But also, I guess what really triggered me the first time, and what I also write a lot about in the book, is time. Because time is life. And when kids spend 6 hours a day on social media, they lose so much. So the concept of time in the debate, I think, has been underestimated. And I think it is for all of us, for adults as well, because that time steals, I mean, a tech company steals time from other things that we need more.
Yes, yeah. And they have all these mechanisms to steal even more time. And you find very drastic words, I mean, at least in the German translation, but I'm sure the original is just as severe, where you basically say, one part says, a mother that looks on the screen first thing in the morning and not into the eyes of her child shows us her priorities. This is, I think, as a mother, it's kind of painful. It also shows that, it shows a lot of things. It shows basically the private behavior, what you're saying. It also shows, or it might question, is the technology the problem, or is the problem that we are so busy that this mother has to look on her screen first thing in the morning? Everything has become more complicated, more complex, more busy, and technology in some ways has also given or has produced more work for the individual, basically, because many things have been given to the individual to solve themselves with technology. So is this the problem or the symptom of a world that is just too busy?
Everything is accelerating. Is that right word? Yeah. Everything is going faster, and technology is a big part of it. And that mother, I mean, I've been that mother. You know, I've because I'm so addicted to my phone, and I write about that too. I'm an infoholic, and I think most of us are addicted to our phones. And for me, that, I mean, we can't deal with this in a proper manner. We adults can't deal with it, and when we can't, how on earth can we expect children and young adults with brains under development to deal with it in a proper way, in a good way? And what happens? I don't think each and every one of us, we shouldn't blame ourselves too hard, because the design of the apps are made to addict us. I mean, they're made to hook us. And the book called Hooked is actually somehow a Bible in Silicon Valley, and it describes all the different kind of designs that the app developers use to hook us. So that's what I'm trying to describe also, is we are being, someone is trying to steal our time. Netflix even pointed at sleep and said that sleep is their biggest they're struggling, they're trying to steal our sleep, and we win, Netflix say. So we really are under pressure, all of us, from the biggest companies in the world, and they're trying to steal both our time and our personal data. And that is why we need to solve this on in our societies, with politics, with regulation, because it's too hard for even I know so much about it and knows what kind of design they use to hook me. Even I fall for it.
What can you share? What does it do to us? What are the personal consequences for kids, for adults?
Well, as you probably have heard of, when you open an app and you get the surprise, you have this small dopamine rush in your brain. And we really like that. So we go back and open the app again and again, because we search for that dopamine rush. And that is the addiction. So that's what really happens. And therefore, most of us also end up having a much higher screen time than we really want to. And with kids especially, I think, as I said, we have underestimated the value of time. And what does it take time away from? What does a screen use take time away from? And it takes time away from especially three things that children need to have a good mental health. That is enough sleep. In Norway, 85% of Norwegian teenagers sleep too little. Almost everyone. And it takes away time from exercise, from moving. And in Norway, 8 of 10 boys and 9 of 10 girls move too little. They exercise too little, and it's probably the same here, I guess. And it takes away time from being with other people, being social, and learning how to be social, to have social competence. And for children especially, it takes time from free play. And free play is extremely important for children. Through free play, they use their imagination, they make rules, they all the time engage in this social relationship with others, and learn social competence through that. And they need to do it a lot. And when they get less of all these important things, we see it on mental health issues arising. We see it on school results. The school results in Norway are going down. The PISA results are going down. The reading results are going down. And we see it on and so many different numbers pointing in the wrong direction. So we should really do more.
Yeah, we will talk about what we are going to do or what you're suggesting to do. But let's stay with schools and education, because actually, especially Norway always was a role model for other, especially European countries, when it comes to the digitalization of education. In Germany, this is something that we argue a lot and we complain a lot that it's not going fast enough in Germany, and that's still too analog. So countries like Norway were sort of an example that we are working towards becoming. Is this something where you would also sort of ring the alarm when it comes to schools and the use of technology and the use of screens and apps? And because there, as far as I understood, it really enhances the quality of learning.
Well, in Norway, we digitalized the schools almost completely. Almost every single school child in Norway have their own device. It's so-called one-to-one, and they also bring the devices home. And they, a lot of schools hardly have any books. Some schools even bragged about how they don't learn the kids to write by hand anymore. So the screens, and especially the iPads for the younger kids, have kicked out a lot of other means for education and other tools for education. And this happened really fast. And it happened without a lot of research that said that this would lead to better learning. It happened, and I write about this in my book as well, it happened because, in my opinion, a very strong lobby from the tech companies and very charming salespeople eagered for it. And Norway is a small country, but still we're sort of an exhibition window for the rest of the world, as you say, you look to Norway. So having Norwegian schools digitalized is obviously of great value to the big tech companies. And after this digitalization, the school results really started to go down quickly. So I would definitely not look to Norway. And what is happening in Norway right now is that we have put the brakes on, and now we, especially in primary schools, they have started to throw out the iPads and buy books again. And we have a very brave minister of education who's been talking a lot about all the other way we learn, you know, with physical learning, going outside, using your hands, moving around, singing, drama, nature, and especially playing, because playing is so important for smaller kids. So we are going in another direction, and I would definitely not recommend going through the same phases of this as we did in Norway, but now you can look to Norway and learn and not do the same mistakes as we did.
So this is the way for you when we talk about what can be done.
I have to add one thing.
Yes.
Because what even didn't help was this didn't even help the digital competence. Even the digital competence of Norwegian school kids has gone down. Because you don't become more digital competent of having your own iPad. You learn that in different ways, and you have to have good teachers who know how to learn you coding and patterns and mathematics and concentration, for example. So it hasn't really been doing anything good, I think.
So coming sort of like to the solution. And I think as we talk about solutions, we have to talk about many problems in society still. But maybe first, what you are stressing also in your book and what you are proposing is basically limiting the time with screen, and also having an age limit to social media. Um, yeah, basically not having access to technology for kids at a small age, no access at all. What else would you recommend?
Well, first of all, we need an age limit on social media. 16, maybe even 18 on non-ethical social media like TikTok. Social media that use a design to hook the user should have high age limits. Also, we need age limits on pornography, which France and the UK has already gotten, I think. Some countries are sort of leading here. And then we need to ban addictive design, like push warnings, likes, streaks, endless scroll. All these different designs are made to hook us. So that goes for adults as well, of course. We would also have a better relationship, I think, with social media if we weren't constantly under the pressure of this addictive design. And then for kids, we also need to change the norms. And to do that, we need better advice from the health ministers. So two advice that I think should be communicated to all parents is wait with a smartphone until 13, 14, and wait with social media until 15, 16. That would really be helpful if everyone agreed on these norms. That would be also what would help parents to be able to say no. Because now in research from Norway show that a lot of parents say yes to social media and yes to buying a smartphone before they really want to, because they are afraid that their child will not be able to have a social life. And when all the communication happens on Snapchat, it's really hard as a parent to say no to Snapchat.
But there's also this other challenge as parents, since this generation or these kinds of parents that we are talking about are actually parents that are interested in a very conscious way of parenting, right? This is, for me, it's a big paradox. And also being a mother myself, I know too well. And in these families, or also with my kids, the screen time is basically the main argument that I'm having with my kids, because I see there's a lot of other forces that are at work. It's not only between me and my two sons. There's other things around us, the addictive part, as well as the peer pressure, as well as the day is structured differently for my boys than it was when I was a kid. They are in school longer, they have longer days, longer hours. They're also, sometimes technology is communicated to kids as some sort of stress relief or means to relax. So there are lots of things at work that make this very, very complicated for families to solve for themselves.
And that's why we need to change this together. So that's why we need better politics, we need regulation. And look at what happened with smoking. We had a law against smoking inside. And it took like 2 weeks and everyone was really happy, you know? So this can be done with politics. But also we need to change the norms so that you can sit at the parent meeting in school and agree with the other parents that we will actually not buy a smartphone for the 10-year-olds. And we will actually use screen time or Google Family Link to filter out social media and all the other apps that we know aren't good for 14-year-olds. And we have a lot of research about especially young girls on social media now. So these regulations that goes for everyone and the common norms will definitely help parents in navigate in this landscape. And that's what, the only advice I think we as parents, at least in Norway, have gotten until now on this field is talk to your child. Yeah. And that gets us only that far, and talk to your child about what happens on the internet. Talk to your child about what kind of apps they use. Be interested, but it doesn't really help.
And it's not possible, because what I see on my internet, let's say, is completely different from what my kids see. It's so highly personalized and so highly well put to lure you into something that is really tailored to you. I wouldn't be able to talk to them about what they are seeing unless I see it with them, with their eyes.
I tried to, as an experiment, I logged on to TikTok and said I was a 13-year-old girl. And the world I came into directly, I didn't even have to stay there. I didn't even have to choose anything. The world that was presented to me as a 13-year-old girl was really terrible. It was thinspiration, content about getting thinner. It was a lot of advice, so-called friendship advice, that was really just harsh and negative content. And it was also a lot of content about how men want trad wives, and how girls really just want a man who protects her. So this was the content I got directly when I said I was a 13-year-old girl. And as a mother of, I mean, a woman of 50, I would never be presented to that content. So yes, it's really hard to talk about. And also with teenagers. Teenagers almost instinctively, I think, try to protect their private life from their parents. That's part of growing up. So they don't want to talk about what happens on social media. And especially if they're being bullied or if something bad happens, usually they quite often also try to protect their parents because they're ashamed. And so it's really hard. I mean, just talk to your child. It's not enough. It's not. We have to talk to them, but it's not nearly enough.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly the point. And sometimes I look at it, especially in that way, and wonder how much we have not understood about kids being alone. How early they get used to being alone, because we think that offering them a screen opens them up to a world, right? But in fact, they are alone in front of a screen. And I think this whole image and this whole idea, when it starts very early, of course, then I think this connection that you want to have with your kids as a parent, or also as an educator, or as someone that is related, is harder. It's harder because this exchange is getting more rare the more kids are used to being alone in front of a screen.
Yes, and that's one of the pillars, of getting a good mental health, is to be together with other people and to be social. And from Norway, we know that, from research from Norway, we know that kids are much more alone at home with their screens. So we need to, I mean, my dream is that the time after school will be what it used to be, real free time, when kids are out playing or hanging around, hanging on the corners like teenagers used to earlier, and just doing what children and young adults should do: be together, bound, flirt, sort of. If
get into trouble.
Fun, get into trouble. And develop in a good way. Yeah.
And here I am with another thought, that you have this example of a young girl, and when you look at young men and the spaces they get to see on the internet, we know that there comes real danger for society from it. Radicalization when it comes to political views, which we now know even ended up in them voting for parties, for candidates that are more conservative and almost to right-wing politicians. We had this phenomenon in Germany where very young boys were actually voting for AfD in high numbers. And one explanation was that they were playing this game on social media very well, and especially talking to young men and actually really talking to them in their language and having also talking to them about their topics. So here we have a real danger. And another danger is this tradwives movement that you were telling about for young girls. There's the opposite for, or there's the other end for young men, which is actually really being or trying to pursue a very traditional male role again, trying to create this image of a man that has muscles. This is a whole comeback of muscles, eating a lot of meat. There's a whole lifestyle that comes from just following certain people on social media for young boys. But my question is, even if we don't allow access to this content for young men, for boys, even if we forbid these kind of contents, I think that the phenomenon is still there. The hate against women is still there. A very questionable idea of democracy is still there. So again, is technology the problem, or is it a symptom of a time that we are living in?
Well, the technology exaggerates everything. It makes it worse because when you, as I talked about addictive design, and the design of a lot of algorithm-driven apps is it's made to keep us there, and to keep us there, we're always presented content that is a little bit more extreme than what we were looking at. And a little bit more extreme in a negative way, because we, the human being, we tend to choose negative content over positive. And that's in our psychology, because we always look for dangers, because that's been, part of, that's what's kept us alive, that we're looking out for dangers. So that's also a problem with when you fall down the rabbit hole, so to speak, on the internet. And you get more and more in an individualized content also. And for boys, we see this, girls especially fall down into this beauty content or tradwife, thinspiration, and also self-harm. 50% of Norwegian teenage girls have seen self-harm and thinspiration on social media. 50%. It's terrible. And with boys, the algorithms drive them into pornography and into, as you say, the manosphere, into Andrew Tate-like characters. And we see it on the elections in Norway as well. Young men vote for the far-right party. So what can we do? I'm not sure if I have the answer, but this has happened the last couple of years, that these movements have really gotten much bigger. And it is, of course, because the technology makes things that were maybe small much bigger. And that is what the medium is, the message. Yeah.
There was a recent survey, actually, which you might like, in Germany, where people were asked if there should be an age limit to social media, and it should be really forbidden from at a young age. And it was interesting because young people actually agreed to this.
Yes, and that's...
and older ones didn't, like only 50%.
No, but the young people I talk to, and also some research show that young people want regulation. And I was in a debate a year ago with the leaders of the young parties, political parties in Norway. And they all wanted much stricter regulations than the mother parties. And they said, and especially for school, they wanted the Conservatives party in Norway, the young conservatives in Norway, they want to throw out the screens of school until the age of 15. And they said that we grew up with this and we don't want it anymore. And that's also when I talk to the friends of my sons, they say that we think we will regulate much more when we have kids. We will be much stricter than our parents. Yeah, even my boys say that, even though I was a strict mother.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there was one activist that also suggested, and there should also be an age limit for people above 50.
Yes. Maybe right. I think on social media is today shouldn't be allowed in the way it is for anyone, because it doesn't do us well. We need better social media.
And here comes maybe the fun aside, but here comes the question of how do you want to pursue this? Because you were talking about the ban on cigarettes and on smoking, and also the advertising for it. And this was such a huge debate in Europe, and still it is a debate, how much advertising there can be, for instance, for alcohol now. And here we are not even being at the point, even though we have the evidence, it's about gluing people. It is addictive. It is about robbing time. It is bad for mental health. So all the things of a severe drug are there, or the arguments are there, and we are not there yet. And then we have these very, very influential and big tech companies that don't even have their headquarters here, but somewhere in the Silicon Valley, different from the cigarette producers. So how do you think this can actually work?
Well, that's a difficult question. But in Europe, a lot of good things do happen, like the Digital Services Act, the AI Act. So I think in the EU, this is something the politicians really talk about, and they want to do something. What gives me hope is what has happened the last 2.5 years. When I first started to debate this and to be an activist on this field in January 2023, I was I felt a bit alone. And now, suddenly, or through these last years, it feels like we have opened our eyes together. It's sort of a tobacco moment. We see now, and we know we have to do something. And when it comes to schools in Norway, for example, they are going back to books. And when it comes to social media, we are in so many countries are talking about regulation, and this happens almost the same way in a lot of countries at the same time. So we are really starting to change, and it feels like we have finally realized what kind of mechanism we are that is used against us, and that we can do something about this. And of course we can do something about this if we do it together. And we have to go away from floskel. Do you say that?
Yeah, it's the German word as well.
Yes, like here to stay. This is here to stay, so we can't change it. Or this is the future. Or we have to be on that train when it leaves the station. We had a lot of this kind of talk in the technology debate. And that is only marketing talk from big tech, really. So we have to get away from that and start to talk properly about it with good arguments. And of course, we will have technology, but we have to use technology that is in a way that is good for us. We as a democracy have to decide how to use technology. We can't have big tech in the United States and China deciding what kind of society we should have.
Absolutely. And there's one thought that I thought was really worth considering, was that in this race in technology and AI and things like that, where Europe is far behind the US and China, that one way of putting it could actually also be that Europe's future in this could be one of actually regulation and security and safety, rather than this openness.
Yes, and we really need to protect our personal data, because if we don't, we are very vulnerable for all kind of non-democratic pressure from the outside, and that goes with AI also. So that, yeah, it's a lot of reasons to be worried, but still also some reasons to be optimistic, I think.
And maybe just the final, maybe more philosophical thought, because what does it actually tell us about being human? Because when we were starting out with social media in a big scale, there was always this fun part, but as much as I remember, it was also this very powerful tool that, for instance, fueled the Arab Spring, which would not have been possible, this rising for democracy without something like Twitter. Also in countries like Iran, the internet and some platforms are the only way to get stories out, to get connected, because media are highly censored and controlled. But then if we have all the freedom and liberty to use it, we do it to harm ourselves and others.
Well, right now, social media is controlled by big tech. And they decide what kind of content we are shown. So therefore, we aren't free, we are manipulated. I think we need, social media right now is an important part of our infrastructure, our digital infrastructure. And we need to own our own data. You know, we need national or maybe European social ethical media. Blue Sky is a better social media than TikTok or Instagram, for example. Still not perfect, but we need to move in a direction where we take control over the digital infrastructure ourselves, and also that we own our own data. That's really important.
So what does your personal choice look like? You use Blue Sky. Do you have limits for yourself using social media?
Well, I have, at the end of the book, I have some screen advices on how to try to use your cell phone and algorithm-driven content less. But I find it hard too. But I try not to. I don't have social media on my cell phone. I have it on my computer. That helps, and I also don't have any push warnings or anything like that on my cell phone. And I have grayscale. And I always use a watch instead of the cell phone as a watch. And I don't have it in my sleeping room, so it helps. But I find it hard too.
Maja Lunde, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you. And for everyone who is more interested in learning more about Maja Lunde, of course, as a person, on the Arte Mediathek, there's a portrait highlighting her as an author and writer. You can see it in different languages as you like. Thank you so much for being here. It was a real pleasure. And thank you also so much for this very, very important book.
Thank you.
Thank you.